Welcome back to the channel. This is S.O.G. Today we're taking a look at this Glock 45 Gen 6. So we're going to be doing some initial impressions and an overall review of it. What does this come with? Now I did pick this up for $623 out the door. And what you get with this one is the same as what you get with the Gen 5s or any other model at that. You're going to have 3 total magazines. You're going to have 2 in the case and then 1 in the gun and a speed loader. It comes with some adapter plates for your new optic system. You're going to have some backstrap options and then locking cable and paperwork. Getting into some of the changes they made from the Gen 5 to the Gen 6, we're going to start from the slide and work our way down. Taking a look at the slide serrations, they did make a subtle but much needed change that is very much appreciated. You still get that same Glock feel when you rack the slide because they didn't change the style. All they did was make the cuts a little deeper and more aggressive, which is pretty nice. But I think that was a miss on Glock to really innovate and make something different out of the serrations themselves. Then we're going to move over to the optic cut system. You no longer have an MOS cut, you have something different. But a little later on, we're going to mount an optic and see if it's an upgrade or just something that they changed. As you guys can see, they did keep the same plastic sights. Where they dropped the ball again, they could have gave us some metal night sights, but they kept the same plastic sights. Now, one of the biggest changes they made was the stippling on the new Gen 6 compared to the Gen 5. Love the new stipple job that they gave this. I love that they went around and above the mag release. As you guys can see here, they also added some palm swells, and it has a little bit more of a flared mag well. You also have an extended beaver tail. Some of us hate it, some of us love it, but it does work. I think they did that because a lot of people were complaining about slide bite, so they added that. If you take a look, another subtle change they did was to this slide lock. They added a little bit more of that ledge there, just going around. We keep coming down. We're going to take a look at the takedown levers. They made them a little bit easier to reach by extending them, and that again is a very subtle but much needed change. So it makes just taking down the gun and cleaning the gun out a lot smoother and easier. And then obviously the gas pedal with the stippling is just awesome. As you guys can see, you get a really nice gas pedal there. And then moving down towards the trigger guard, you're going to see an undercut right underneath the trigger itself, which again, it really works well with the stippling, the palm swells, and the extended beaver tail to get yourself a really nice high grip on there. And then the trigger obviously is also something they upgraded, and that is now a flat face trigger, which does look really nice, but the trigger feel is still the same. So again, was that really an upgrade or just a change that they made? Taking a look at the light rail for weapon mounted lights, you still have the same 1-slot Picatinny rail mount, but needless to say, you can still mount the same weapon mounted lights that you did with previous generations out there. So still something that is functional. Now, those are all the exterior and cosmetic changes they made to the Gen 6, but let's talk about the internal changes that they made, if any. Now, in reality, the Gen 6, as nice as it looks and as many upgrades as they put on this, I believe the trigger system and the mechanism behind the trigger system itself is still a V model style trigger. The Gen 6 is just a really nice V model. Now let's take a look at the difference in triggers. Here's the Gen 5 19. A little bit of mush there, a break, and the reset. Now let's take a look at the Gen 6. It's got more resistance, but it hasn't been broken into yet, so I can't really hold them accountable. Here's a little bit of mush, more mush, break. Similar reset. Again, resistance because it's not broken into. Mush. It's got a lot of mush, and I'm hoping that goes away after we throw some rounds down the range. The feeling in hand of this new Gen 6 is honestly really good. I do like it, and I think it's a good mix of the undercut trigger guard there. You get the palm swells, the stippling that comes all the way around, and then the beaver tail. I think all of that really makes for a nice high grip, and then when you throw your support hand on there, you immediately land on that gas pedal, so it really makes getting on target nice and easy. Comparing the stippling or the grip texture from the Echelon 4.0C to the Glock Gen 6. Personally, and I hate to admit, but I think that the Glock Gen 6 wins. I love that the Springfield Armory guns all have a similar pattern for their stipple job, and I really like that it's everywhere, but I just feel like the Gen 6 is just a little bit more aggressive. This is nice because it's everywhere, but it's a little too smooth for me. Let's take a look and see how it compares to the Walther PDP. All right, here is the PDP, and as you guys can see, this thing looks much more aggressive than the Gen 6, and I personally like the PDP's grip better than the Gen 6. Like I said, I think that the Gen 6 kind of took from their idea, but in hand, the PDP just feels much, much nicer than the Gen 6. Let's take a look and see how it compares to something like a Canic Prime. And here is the Canic Prime against the Gen 6. And me personally, I prefer the Prime stipple job over the Gen 6. The Prime is just one of those that just really gets a good grip in your hand. It's super aggressive, but not too aggressive. It's hard to describe. And the fact that they have different aggressiveness on the sides versus the front and the back just makes it really nice and hard to beat, honestly, on the Canic Prime. So for me, between these two, as far as the stippling, I'm going to take the Prime over the Gen 6. As far as holster compatibility goes, this is a 19 TLR7A holster. Obviously, we have the TLR7A on the 45 Gen 6, and this does fit the Gen 5 holsters. As you guys can see, you still get that audible retention click. The trigger guard is completely covered, so you are safe to use Gen 5 holsters for your Gen 6. So here we have the new Osight XR mounted on the Gen 6, and this is an RMR cut optic. We use the number 2 plate for the plate system that comes with the Glock, and you still don't get a co-witness at all. They could have done something better like what the Echelon did or what the RXM did, but yet they failed to give us something that we could co-witness with. But nevertheless, we're still gonna go ahead, hit the range with it, and see how it performs. Now, at the range, I'm not going to be using a red dot. We're just going to test irons for the first 200 shots, and then after that, we'll start adding some accessories to it. And we are back from the range. As you guys can see, no issues with this Gen 6. Everything went through flawlessly. It ate 115 and 124 grain perfectly fine, reliable as all other Glocks have been, and it shot incredibly soft, softer than my Gen 519. I don't know if it's because of the added length here from the because it's got that 17 frame, or simply just because of the grip and the changes that they made, but this thing shot really, really soft, softer than my Echelon 4.0. And I had a really good time at the range. We did some normal slow pace shots one at a time, and then we switched it up to double taps. And then I went ahead and did a low ready to the target, and everything went through perfectly fine. I didn't notice any hiccups, nothing that gave me an uncomfort or anything like that. But I do want to say that I hope they make these changes on the 43X and 48. Give us this whole entire package minus that beaver tail, because appendix guys are going to hate that. And I don't plan on carrying this, especially not appendix, but I can see how that will get in the way for those of us that do carry appendix with the 43X and whatnot. I also feel like the Gen 5 Glocks didn't really need all of this, to be upgraded. I feel like they should have started with the slimline guns, because those are the ones that need to be updated ASAP, man. Especially with the capacity, especially with the trigger, the grip, things like that. I feel like those are the ones they should have started with. So I'm really excited to see what they come out with when they do release the Gen 6 slimlines and those carry guns. I hope they have a way to get that 15 round capacity in those without sacrificing that frame length things like that. I hope that they even put this trigger in that, or the performance style trigger would be perfect in those slim gun models. So I hope that they don't drop the ball on that, because that's what I'm honestly truly waiting on, is to see what they do with that. Because y'all know the 43X has been my baby for a long time. I'm currently planning on swapping it out to something different, just to try something else out. But I'm really, really waiting on that Gen 6 to see what they do with that model. That should wrap it up, though. This was really, really fun. I really enjoyed this Gen 6. I recommend it. Whether you're a Glock guy or not, this is something that I would really invest in, at least so far. So far it's been reliable. And I feel like if this continues the reliability as every other gen that has come out, this is going to be the one to get. And this is going to be the best generation that Glock has released due to all of the upgrades. But that'll wrap it up for this video, you guys. Hit that like button, drop a comment, let me know what your thoughts are on the Gen 6 Glocks. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But if you already have, I appreciate you guys so much. God bless you, and I'll see you on the next video.